Hi everyone, and welcome back to Haunted Hearsay. I'm up in the not so wild Donegal this evening. It's calmed down a lot, thank goodness. And I'm joined with Ben down in the capital. Hi Ben, how are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm good. I'm fine. Not much has changed as usual, but I'm in good spirits.
Yeah, well, do you know something? I'm flat out. I've bought enough paint and paintbrushes and stuff for the garden and plants, and
Oh, nice.
that's the intention for this weekend to start planting and painting and finish my upcycling.
I might do that too. I might buy a plant. Why not?
Well, do you know, it's something. The weather's starting to improve now. That
Yeah.
storm kind
Today
of
was lovely here.
about a week and just it's passed on from here now, thank God, because it's hard to first couple of nights it's cozy and you're sitting in beside the fire. And then you can't watch the television, you can't hear it, and everything's that loud and rattling and banging, and you just, so yeah, I'm glad it's passed. And
I mean,
that's
we
it.
do complain about the weather a bit in this country, but it's really not bad compared to other countries.
Oh, absolutely not. I've always said it. We're fair weather people.
Yeah,
We
we
can't
have
take it too
very
hot, we can't
moderate
take it too
weather.
cold, but we're very good at the wind and the rain. you
We're
know.
good at rain, but when I went to Southeast Asia, it was monsoon season, and it was like a wall of rain. It was
Mm.
and flooding and stuff. And then we do get flooding here a lot, and I'm sure climate change doesn't help.
I know, but I mean, where's all this good weather we're supposed to be getting with the, global warming?
Well, today was nice in Dublin.
It was nice here, but it was cold out.
Hmm.
But it was one of those days. Do you know, funny, I went, drove past. We're going to talk about the Crawley factory, and I drove past it today, and I really meant to take an up-to-date picture of the outside of it. And I was in Bunbeg by the time I remember. I think. But that's leading me on to it. This is,
Yeah.
I was going to do you know something? Just a quick recap, really, on the Crawley factory, because I'd done a little bit of homework on it, but not a lot. Now, the Crawley factory, you have a picture of it. We have
That's
three
right.
pictures actually of the Crawley factory now, so I'll explain the three pictures. The factory recently has been taken over by a group of guys, mostly local fellas, that have turned it into distillery. So they'll be distilling Donegal whiskey, and they're just at the beginning stages. And just as they were doing it up, I happened to go in. There's a room upstairs I wanted to take a picture of from the inside of the window where shooting had taken place back in the 20s. So that's the picture of the room that looks, like a work in progress. At that window, that's why it's there. And on the outside, it's if you look at the front of the building, it's the second row, the last window on the left from the outside. The other picture I'll explain in a minute. But and the reason with those is back now that factory was built 1903. Now what it was used for between 1903 and 1939, I'm not exactly sure. I know that in 1939 that they converted it into and it became the Crolly doll factory. And from 1939 up until the 70s, it was always Crolly dolls. And then in the 70s, they started to do it up and added soft toys and things like that to it as well. And that was right up until the 80s, I think, late 80s, early 90s, well, around late 80s anyway. But the story goes that
And has
during
it
the,
been
pardon?
vacant? Has it been vacant since the 80s?
No,
Or
there was another factory in then, but it wasn't Crawley Dolls.
hmm,
They were making something else, circuit boards or something like that.
okay.
It was adapted. The Crawley Doll factory sort of downsized. It's still there, but it's in Meanlick. It's not like the production that it was before. It's a specialised. They're worth quite a few pound now, like the
Yeah,
Crawley
yeah.
Dolls.
I
I
heard
always
that.
remember John Marie got one for Christmas and she had it in bits by the end of the day.
I think that's always the way. Um,
Yeah.
I keep seeing things about Pokemon cards, and like our household had so many Pokemon cards back in the day, like first generation. We probably threw them out or gave them away to
I know my poor mother and father when I think about it, like, most
not
likely,
everything. We have some stuff.
yeah, looking at us like destroying, especially Dawn Marie. She had to dismantle everything to see how it worked, So then you had these sort of weird looking heads and
Yeah,
arms and legs lying about all over the place. But I digress.
yeah.
But that was from 1939. It was a Crawley doll factory. But before that, anyway, whatever it was they were making, but during the actual occupation, during the uprising, it would have been occupied by British soldiers. And the Crolly factory is also a crossroads. It's at the crossroads between coming from Lohanure, coming from Manigra, coming from Gweedore, coming from Falcara. It's a crossroads, and between the Rosses and Gweedore. And I've told you the difference about that before, is that the Rosses, there was like stationed areas for commissioned soldiers, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Gweedore, it was more rebels, so the Black and Tans were based in Gweedore, etc. Anyway, the crossroads was probably more of a fighting spot over football or GAA than it probably was the Troubles at the time. Like, but apparently there was this soldier. He was a sniper, and he was taking people out from that window, or shooting at people from that window. Whether he was taking them out, I don't know.
And did he die
Oh,
there?
no, he's the one that was shot. A sniper then was put in place. That he was distracted by, I don't know, a group of people that done it on purpose. And a sniper got in place and shot him. Now, the reason I mention that is because shortly thereafter, tales of this guy appearing, it wasn't like years and years later that it started to happen. It was almost immediately this guy appearing to
And
people.
what year was this again?
It'd been in the 20s sometime,
Right, yeah.
1920s. He would have been a British soldier.
Yeah.
He starts appearing to people. Now, whenever they upgraded the factory in the 1970s to go from just Crolly dolls to add soft toys and things like that, they were also redecorating offices upstairs because they hadn't been done since the factory had been built. And apparently when they lifted the floor in the office, that's from the inside. That's the picture from the inside. It shows you the window. It's just everything's gone there now because they'd replaced the floor, but I just took a picture to show where it was. His blood, that soldier's blood, had seeped down through the wooden floors onto the joists below. So there was, everyone was very superstitious, the fact the blood was still there. But, when you think about it, where was it going to go until they did replace the joists?
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, so
That sounds really. This is gross, but there's actually blood on the door of the entrance of my building. I don't want to clean it, but there's only a little bit. Someone cut their hand or something, but I'm not touching it. I'll come in the other door.
You don't know what people have.
I don't. I know it needs to be like sprayed with something.
I'd be down there with Dettol. Why a brush and Dettol, sir?
I just haven't used the door. There's two doors, so I've been using the other one, but I saw it and I was like, oh, fuck that.
Right, well, wait till I finish this story.
Right.
So apparently your man's been meeting. Now, I grew up around here. Well, I grew up in between Dunlow and Gweedore. We started off, we were living in, when we came here to live, we were lived in Mulliduff and then Dunlow. And the only social life we had, Dunlow was great crack during the summer, or at the festival times and things like that, or the Easter and things like that. It was great crack then. The rest of the winter, it was a one-horse town,
Yeah.
And the horse was dead, as it were. Our social life took place in Gweedore, and our nightclubs were Seaview and Dodge. Well, I say nightclubs. When I was going to them, there were discos.
Was it called Dodge?
It was called Dodge, yeah.
That was a whole different meaning.
The Glenveigh Hotel, and it was known as Dodge. Actually, my father was the resident musician in it when we came here to live. Him and two friends of theirs, Medicine Bowl, and they used to play there every weekend, and there was that many fights. He used to play the theme to Dodge City and welcome everyone to Dodge. So whenever he would start off, like, yeah, we're like, Medicine Bow and welcome to Dodge City. And it became a nickname. So when the next crowd took it over after Glenveigh, they renamed it. Or they renamed it Dodge. So it was always known as Dodge because of that. But the original owners, the Friels, Padraig Friel's brother, he was Donald Trump's personal chef.
Oh.
Very, very, like 20 odd years or something like that.
Mad.
No, there you go. That was Dodge anyway. The reason I mentioned that is because that's where we would have went at the weekend if we wanted to socialize. And being what it was like here back in the sort of early 80s, etc., the only way you got about was to hitchhike. And the only way you got home was usually to walk. If somebody hadn't borrowed a car from their parents, you had to walk home. And I always remember the scariest part when you got to Crolly. and you had to go down past that factory. That was long before I knew, like, or any of us knew the story at
Yeah.
that time. So there was always a presence around it, but it can't be just this British soldier, because the reason I have the other picture in
Too
is
strong, do you think?
the room that I showed you. Behind the room was a door, and the door looked out onto the factory floor.
No look at the pictures.
Yeah, the door looked out onto the factory floor. So I've shown it to you from the factory floor side. You're looking up at the, up towards the top of the picture, and you see the door there. I think they were going to put in steps or something like that, or whatever. But there was a guy that I know that was, and this is recently, whenever they were getting the place ready, this is a couple of years back, maybe about 2 years ago, and he was in doing wiring, electrical work. And this is a guy that wouldn't believe in anything like that. And he was there late in the evening. It was like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and the place was in darkness, apart from whatever he's, flashlights or whatever he's using to sort of like do this work. And he's standing there, and he's standing in front of that opening. And you can see from this side what's behind the opening, nothing. But while he's doing a bit of work there in front of that opening, he hears a voice say behind him, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And he answers, and he says, hold on a second. And he turned around to, it was a woman, and he turned around, he realized he turned around, he was looking out that gap into the factory. So first of all, even if someone had been there, they couldn't have been, because they'd have been standing in midair.
Yeah.
So yeah, apparently he packed up pretty quickly, and he wasn't doing late nights after that in a hurry. So I don't know who she could have been, but that could be something from the 1900s. I don't know, because I did ask quite a few people, but I've noticed that the younger you go when you're asking these stories, the more nonsense they think it is.
Yeah. That
The
makes
older
sense.
people you ask, and we can't visit them at the moment because of COVID. It's like, it was the God's honest truth. There was definitely a ghost there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the story in Crolly factory, and it's now a distillery, Donegal distillery.
So if you
So
want
Joe, you
some,
got a plug?
is it whiskey?
Yes, it's whiskey. So Joe, I'll be looking for a bottle when you open.
So
You can buy a cask.
I was going to say haunted whiskey, is
Yeah, I don't know. I
it?
don't know. It's the place looks fabulous, and fair play to them.
Yeah,
It's bringing
good.
life back into Crawley again, and back into Gidor, and I couldn't think of it. But now, I mean, it'll be 5 years before the first vats are available.
Okay, yeah.
As far as I know, that's now. I mean, as I say, just hearsay, as they would say.
I went to another distillery for my brother-in-law's stag
Mm.
party. It was in Cork, West Cork, I think. Yeah, West Cork, and it was really, really cool.
Yeah, do you know, I've never even been into the Guinness one. I think the last time that I was anywhere near St James's Gate, and I thought about going in,
I was there
and
today.
I found out the price, and I went, no, they're all right. I'll look it up online. It's really quite expensive.
I was outside the Guinness factory. I wasn't in the tourist attraction side of it. Yeah, I've never been. It's meant to be the number one thing on TripAdvisor
Yeah,
before.
but it's expensive.
Where, yeah, rip off. I've never been. I wouldn't go. I don't
Yeah.
like Guinness enough. If I was a tourist, I might go because everything's rip off anyway, everywhere.
I enjoy doing some touristy things, but I hate
I
that sort
think
of. I mean, go in and walk around a brewery, and you're talking about 40 quid for a tour and things like that. You just think, I wouldn't pay that to go and see a concert.
oh,
I would be tight about
I'd
things.
do it for a concert.
No, I wouldn't either. Actually, do you know what it is? I wouldn't pay anything going into a concert. If I couldn't get in for free, I wouldn't want
Oh,
to
not
go.
anymore. Anyway.
That's honest to God's truth. It's never been my thing, and if I couldn't get in for free, I wouldn't want to go.
Um, upgrade your experience. So it's €15 or €24
For what?
to go to the Guinness storehouse.
Oh, right, okay.
Sorry, I'm just googling it while I may as well get our facts.
I know. Well, okay.
Fine.
What did you say the second one was?
24. So for
That would have been right then. I'm right. So two of us going, that would have been 40 quid just to go in and walk around the brewery.
you get a pint of Guinness.
I don't drink beer.
Yes, me neither. So
I'd rather go to a whiskey.
you get a nice view. Like it's not for me. It's
No,
no.
it's not for me. I'd rather go to a whiskey. I'd spend the money maybe on going to a whiskey brewery.
Mm.
In fact, I'd even probably spend a few pound more. I'd definitely do that one. But another one we were going to come to was Kerrytown.
Kerrytown,
You have some
yeah.
pictures of Kerrytown, haven't you?
Yeah, I have some videos and some pictures, so I'm gonna put up what I have.
Do put them up.
Um,
I was just going over it. But Kerrytown was, as I say, when he puts up the pictures, you'll see it. It's an area up in the Rosses, up by Rannihuel. And in the 1939, actually, coincidentally, the same year that Crolly Factory became Crolly Dolls,
hmm,
uh, a young girl, Teresa Ward, came out and said that she saw a statue, described how it was dressed and that it was moving. There was a light to it, and it was, it was Our Lady. Her sister came out and, she said she didn't believe her, and she came out, she seen it. Subsequently, the rest of the family came out. That went to the local priest. He didn't believe it, but came up anyway to the actual site. Sorry, yeah, 1930,
Kerrytown.
January 1939, younger Ward has a vision of Our Lady, Mother of Christ. And then her sister, then the rest of her family seen it. Then neighbours. There was one or two more sightings, and then eventually the priest who hadn't seen anything between the January and March, and who didn't really believe it, so wouldn't, whatever it was, wouldn't bless it or ever.
Hmm.
Father McAteer, I think might have been his name. In March, he then seen it as well. Now that's petered down, and people go on pilgrimages there, and they've
And
gone.
it's
And
quite
it's a
busy.
beautiful place to go and meditate. I've taken you there. We've all gone at different. I go quite a lot, obviously.
Every time I've been there, there's been a lot. There's been other people there that we didn't know.
People go to
Or
pray. People
like,
go to, they've got a rock garden there now, and that just kind of happened by accident. That people started leaving stones with either a picture or the name of a loved one. And they're
yeah,
from all over the world. So people from all over the world that have gone here have left some sort of, whether it's a mass card or there's just something just to say we were here. This is our loved ones, say hello to them. It's actually a lovely spot. It really is. You know yourself, it's absolutely
yeah,
beautiful.
it's nice.
Now, there was this rumor when I was growing up, and I really can't put any credence to it because several people, yes, have heard the same story that I heard, but nobody wishes to speak about it, and nobody can corroborate it. So I don't know. This is genuine hearsay, but it is something I remember hearing when I was young, and it was definitely a rumor that went round. So how much truth there is in it, I don't know. But after Our Lady appeared, and literally maybe about 20 feet to the right of where Our Lady appeared, the devil's supposed to have appeared as well.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
that ditch, the hedgerow kind of area.
Yeah, well, it's just nothing really
Wherever.
grows over that. Everything's grown around it.
Yeah,
But yeah. So yeah, what truth there is to that, I don't know. I don't think you'd ever be allowed to go up and investigate it.
no, I
I think
wouldn't
you'd be
bother
stirring up a
either.
hornet's nest to go up and
But
investigate it. Like, but
you'd ruffle feathers usually
yeah,
as well, because the place, I presume, is kept by somebody. Because the first time I went up, uh, there were a lot of religious iconography pieces. And,
people donate, churches donate to it. People donate things to it.
but
The family that live next door, they look after it.
there were okay, yeah,
They
there
look
were a
after
lot of things there early on, and then later on they seem to have tidied it up.
I think they get, I think along with the donations from churches or whatever,
Mm.
there's a lot of,
It was a little bit overcrowded
yeah,
at
I
times
think they
with
pared back a little bit. Like, I think they might be just sort of,
statues.
yeah, as opposed to the churches thrown, I don't even want to say that, that sounds terrible, but it is kind of what happens a lot of the time for
And
Kerrytown.
like
When they're
with
throwing stuff out, it
with
goes to
peace
Kerrytown
involved, it
instead.
is a kind of, in a weird way, it's a scary place to me. Like,
I wouldn't want to be there for too long on my own, and I've been going there since I was a wee girl.
would you go there at night?
No, absolutely not. The rumor of your man appearing would be enough to put me off ever doing that. And
Yeah.
there's just been always something about it. You can feel, it's almost like you can feel conflict there.
Hmm.
It's weird.
It's on a hill.
It's a weird place, but it's a great place to meditate. It's a great place to pray. It doesn't matter what
Just the
denomination
water
you're in.
flowing. Well, just the well.
Yeah, there's a holy well there as well. The well's been blessed. It's a
Oh,
synchronicity.
the reason why I said it was kind of creepy as well is, and I mean absolutely no disrespect. It's just, there's a wooden shed that's quite big that's full of like the cards and the
Full of
photographs of all the
spirits.
people who've passed away. And there's probably maybe, oh no, 500 more type
And
cards.
there's bits of ribbons
They were
or some
seeing the
sort of
faces of a
mementos.
thousand dead people, and it's
Yeah.
sort of like profound in a weird way.
No, I wouldn't want to be there in the dark in the evening. Definitely not. I
Yeah.
mean, it's definitely worth a visit, and it's hard to believe it really is. It's tucked away, it's unless you've got somebody that will show you where you're going,
Yeah.
it's not the easiest place to get to. But yeah, it is a wee kind of an oasis as well, an oasis of calm. I
Yeah.
mean, I've taken different groups of people up from all sorts of denominations, and all loved it. But if you're into meditation or anything spiritual, you will like that place. But there is a conflict there. But I don't know is that in my head because I know literally across the road is where the one of the train stations used to be.
Oh yeah, that's
And
cool as
that's
well.
another story. So I don't know. It could be the same, or maybe I'm being influenced by the story because I heard it when I was young, and
For
things like that
anyone,
tend to be in your head.
just something interesting about Donegal in general. I personally find it terrible because I'd love to take a train to Donegal, but was it the 1950s they got rid of the trains in the
It was the 1930s.
30s.
I think they had them in some places up until the 40s, maybe in
Okay.
some other places till the near 50s. There was so much of them destroyed whenever the English occupation finished.
Mm,
A lot around Donegal had been just because they were used primarily. Well, no, people did use them, but they were used primarily for the soldiers.
mm.
And look at, I'm not, I have no understanding of the rationale.
There's just
I would have utilized what was there as
there's a lot
opposed
of
to
old
destroying it.
bridges or little roads now that used to be railway tracks
Yeah.
in Donegal.
Oh, we're Donegal. We're the only county in Ireland that doesn't have a railway. And yeah, it was the people
Are you
themselves.
the only county without railway?
As far as I know, I don't know of any other county in Ireland that doesn't have railway.
Does Longford have? Yeah, it does.
Yeah, no, I think everywhere. I think if you go as far as Sligo from here,
Right. You
then
also have
you've got
like
the railway
kind
goes
of
all over
mountains
Ireland.
to get like you're kind of cut off from the rest of the country slightly.
That suits me down to the ground.
So it's quite good.
We're
It's a good
accessible.
thing.
We're accessible enough up here
You can
in
fight
the
your corner.
yeah.
Is it the second biggest county in Ireland?
It's the third biggest county in
Third.
Ireland.
Okay, third.
Third biggest county in Ireland, but I think we're one of the most densely populated counties.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've more people scattered throughout the hills than anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, it's a very atmospheric place. Well, there's different landscapes in different places all across
It's magical.
the
And I'm really looking forward now that the weather is starting to get better and things are starting to, well, hopefully are going to relax here now in the next few weeks. The schools, well, some of the schools, some I think from age, the first class up or whatever, go back next week. Yeah, on the 1st of March. So that'll be a bit, relaxing. So at least I'll be able to go out, and go to various areas. And next on the agenda is going to, now I've never been to them, so it's my sister-in-law Deirdre's told me about, there's several of them in Dore, and that's fairy circles and fairy mounds.
Yeah.
Well, the Dore now, there's several of them, and I know where they are in Mulladuff, so that'll be no problem going over and taking a few pictures there, or maybe even a video. And I'm wanting to get that done in the next week, hopefully, weather permitting.
And trees, fairy trees. That's another one.
Well, do you see if we are going to be able to go out and about from next week, it would be nice to even get that and show some of our American friends that have been very kind to subscribe and like and tune in that some of the fairy folklore that we have here. And also I want to get some current pictures of the Banshee Stone over in Mullagerog. And we have a great Banshee story coming up for our friends on the other side of the pond.
There are a lot of fields where you'll find one tree in the middle of the field, and the farmer won't cut it down because they believe it's sort of sacred to the fairy folk, and if you cut it down, you might end up sort of in a lot of trouble. And it's a genuine belief, and you see it around. You still see trees everywhere. One tree in the middle of a field.
Just see that in areas, just see that in built up areas. because people have done it and they've done it to their detriment. You know, places where that were being developed and maybe putting in factories or whatever, and it's like, I'm not going to stop putting it in because of
It's
a
always a curse. You know what I mean? It's not.
and they go ahead and everything goes, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So
Mm,
people are very, you know, it's the one thing that they'll all agree on, that they, you know, you just don't mess about with the little folk, and a bad luck to anyone that does. So if
yeah.
you cut down a fairy tree, whatever business or premises or what house or whatever you're planning to put there, there'll never be any luck to it.
Mm-hmm. They'd be
That's the
connected
story now.
forever.
Yeah.
Or I suppose in our story there was a man who stepped into a fairy ring. It's a different kind of thing, and but he ended up be- becoming very old, or like his life skipped ahead, and he went
Well,
from
it,
a young
isn't
man
it,
to an
isn't
old
it,
man.
sorry for interrupting you, but just to sort of make it a bit clearer,
Yes.
isn't it though that in fairy time, in our
Yeah.
time, we're two different, you know, a day in fairyland is a lifetime
For
in,
a lifetime in our world. Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly. Sorry, I didn't explain that very well. If
Yes, and it's definitely worth a watch. It is actually a fantastic interpretation. It's done through music and dance.
yeah,
And it is
that's
basically
good
a young
confirmation.
man that comes upon the fairy folk, and a day in their world is a lifetime in ours. And but if he'd stayed there and he had the opportunity to stay, if he'd stayed, you know, that forever young thing, but he
Yeah,
wanted to go home, thought his dog was waiting for him. He's only been away overnight. He arrives back. He's
it's
been
kind of sad that it was shown in Pompeii at the UNESCO site, and then it did pretty well. It was actually a student film, not my student film. I was finished, but we sort of went a bit mad, and a lot.
it was very well put together, and it's a very artistic piece, and
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
it's supposed to be.
Anthony Direct. It's
Artistic
supposed to be that it's
interpretation.
very out there. It was made quite a long time ago as well.
Hmm.
At this point,
Well, in your lifetime, it's a long time ago. In your lifetime, 10 years is a third of your life.
yeah,
See,
pretty
see,
much.
10 years, it's like, is that really that? Has that gone by in a flash? And everything
Yeah.
seems to be gone by in a flash.
Yeah, times. What did I say? Time is like an accordion.
Yeah.
Um, now I don't know what makes it like an accordion.
But
Maybe
it
we're in a
sounded, it
hologram.
sounded good. It sounded you were going somewhere prophetic with that. We're all connected. When you break us down to a molecular level, everything on the planet is connected. Trees, animals, humans,
There's a thing
everything. When
called
you break
Gaia.
it down to molecular level, it is.
Gaia. Have you heard of Gaia? Like the concept.
As in a god.
No, I think it's like a concept where the Earth is like one, the Earth and everything on it, and all of us, and everything down to like a microbiotic level is made of, well, it is one single being.
One living organism. Yeah,
One
no, I
life.
don't buy that.
No.
No,
Well,
I
I don't
don't
know.
buy that.
I'm not like here to make a decision on anything. I'm
Yeah,
just.
no. I'm just saying that's my opinion. I don't buy that one. I have heard it, but I don't buy it. But I do. I think we are connected energy wise, but it breaks down to molecular level, as you started off by saying that's very true. But I think we still have a lot to learn about that.
Yeah.
That's where that's where I come
I,
in more, using more of our brain will
yeah.
help.
Yeah.
It seems to be with modern technology and evolution, the things
AI
we
might.
were able to do.
might
Sorry.
the artificial intelligence might help.
Hi.
Like computers might, because you can do more math. You can do like more powerful computations on more powerful computers. Do you
Yeah,
know?
well, see, that's the whole point. That's computers doing it for you. So if you're not using your brain and you're not developing other parts of your brain, you're
Like,
actually dumbing down then.
no, well, I think humanity is getting smarter and smarter in general. Is kind of where I'm going.
Oh, I think when we get smarter in one area, we dumb down in another area.
But I think computers. I think actually that humanity is merging with computers. I think eventually it's going to be more like cyborgs, because Elon Musk has this thing called the neural link. Have you heard of the neural link?
I've heard of it, yeah.
Because it's it's where humans are hooking their brains up to computers now, and through a operation. That's like nightmarish to me, but
It,
whatever.
it's also it's but you know something, I'm saying that it's the kind of things that we look back now and we see other people having done, you go, my God, how could they have done that? But at the time they thought it was the right thing to do. I
It's
don't know.
cyber work.
Maybe
You'd have to.
that technology that he's trying to produce will help the likes of people that are paraplegic.
Yes, that's fine. That's
You
grand.
know, that would be, you know, you could understand they're going to bypass nerves or whatever, and this is, but to actually to interfere with the brain, I think that's a dumbing down of humans. I think again, it's like it's dumbing us down. The more technology we're reliant on, you know,
Yeah,
it's yeah, you know, you have to use your brain. It's
you would
that old
get
adage: if you
corrupted
don't use it,
by,
you'll lose it.
yeah, actually, because the internet's a like pretty nasty place anyway, so you wouldn't want to be
Yeah, if that's all you have, I mean, you have to be able to exist and function without these things, because it's like, to give you an example, like going back a couple of thousand years, people, it was much more basic. It was about survival, and to survive, you had to be fed, you had to be watered, and it was survival of the fittest. Now, you had, say, for instance, in Egypt, would have thousands and thousands of slaves that would move these huge, huge blocks. And these weren't like big, big, muscly people, just ordinary people. But
Mm.
they were tuning into another part of the brain that was all about survival. I think, you know, I think there is aspects to us that we can tune in that sometimes you see it, you see and hear about it on a regular basis, where in extreme situations people have this super strength.
Superhuman
Yeah,
powers.
this
Yeah.
superhuman. I think that's something we all possess, but we forget how to channel into it.
Why
I
not?
think it's something that more primitive man did by just the fact of to survive. They all thought the same thing. If I do this, keep my head down, I'll be alive and I'll get fed at the end of it. You know, that was the thought that was going through their head.
Different motivations and
Yeah, come forward till now in time. And even from when I was going to school, sort of like no calculators, no computers, etc. You had to learn. We done longhand, the whole thing. We worked, I can remember we had classes on commerce and economics and things like that. With computers nowadays that does everything for you, you don't need that. But I think with computers and with sort of all that at your fingertips, but all this stuff, all this technology we've had, say, in the last 100 years, even
mm.
because we've had it, it's a lot. I think we're a lot softer. We haven't had to tune into that part of our brain. But as we're tuning into other parts, we're exercising other parts of our brain with modern technology. We're not feeding that part of our brain that gives us that, you know.
Yeah, but you not think they're building on other parts of their brain that like plebs
Yeah, but it's
plebs
not
like
like
us won't be
you're
ever
adding.
smart
It's
as
yeah,
them.
but it's not like you're adding to what you can do. It's at the expense of losing another sense.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
I'm not saying that that's the case for everybody. I'm just saying that that's the case. The more technology, I mean, the majority of kids nowadays could, you know, I'm not being horrible. I'm not saying all of them, but the majority would have difficulty doing their sums without a calculator.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, it's sort of looking up books to get the name of something was a process,
Yeah,
and
I
it
think
stuck with you
probably
longer because you had to go make that effort. And you know,
mm,
whereas at the touch of a button, you have that information available to you nowadays.
I think I'm one of the last generations anyway to be old school, like pre
Yeah,
cell
I
phone.
see there's anything wrong with modern technology. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I think whenever we tune into other parts, it's always at the expense. You know, I mean, one of these days we're going to learn to use more than 7 to 10% of our brain power, and we'll be
Mhm.
able to do it all at once.
But we won't. We'll be dead probably.
I, I think I have another two or three goes here.
I
Yeah.
think they're gonna go to Mars and the Earth's gonna implode.
Yeah, no, well, not before I've finished my next three tours.
Yeah. Well,
That's
that,
what I'm going to call my trips to Earth as a human, my next three tours.
yeah.
I
That
always
sounds
thought
like
this was my last one, but then I've figured it out numerologically. No, 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 hold on.
numerologically.
Numerologically, that's the word. Yeah, that I've got three more goes. So,
Very good.
yeah.
I don't. Well, I have a numerology book. I must look at it, but I've never bothered to look at.
Zoltan was one of um, Freud's students, and he's an interesting approach to a lot of things, mystic, and he's a great believer in or was a great believer in numerology as well. Numbers, because I mean, there has to be something to it. They always said if there was any way that we were going to communicate, if there were other beings in the cosmos, in which, let's face it, there has to be. Um, the numerology, the numbers is how
How you
we'd
communicate.
be able to communicate binary numbers.
Yeah,
I'm not
binary
saying that's the same as
code or whatever.
numerology. I should also, by the way, I should also clarify when I say clarify. On Tuesday, when I was talking about ghosts and residual hauntings, I was watching it back and it made it sound like people that are trapped between worlds are residual hauntings. They're not. Residual hauntings are, it's like a memory of things that went on in the
Yeah, like a
past. Yeah,
replay.
it's not so much the spirit there as a memory of the person there, sort of residual, uh,
Do you think
trapped
it could
between
be
two
both?
worlds. I don't know, it could be.
Who
I
knows?
mean, truthfully, in all honesty, like, unless you've
Like a
got like
recording or something.
a written testament from somebody that's crossed over, it's a lot of it's
Yeah,
speculation.
maybe it's a glitch in the matrix.
Could be. It absolutely could be.
Who
That's what
would
I'm saying.
know?
I think there's some aspects of things that we find to be paranormal now will be explained by science eventually.
Hmm. Yeah,
I do think
I agree,
that's
definitely
yeah,
to a degree. I think some things will always be a mystery, hopefully
yeah.
as well. I think. Well, who knows? Like it's all a bit.
I
It's
hope
all
so. I
fun
hope so.
anyway.
It's good to have a bit of mystery.
Exactly. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
It's that's what tweaks your curiosity is the mystery part.
So if I'm not painting or upcycling or doing the garden and it's good weather in the next few days, I'm going to make an effort to go over and get some pictures of fairy stones and a banshee stone. And
Yeah.
so next week we can have a wee chat about our local ferries here, and there is quite a
Absolutely.
few. There is quite a few of them here.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, there's
We
quite a
went
few of
up.
them here. So
One of the
yeah,
most magical places I went in Donegal aesthetically, and I've been to a lot of places, but it was up the Blue Stack Mountains. Like
yeah, up Fintown direction.
we were like way up the mount. We were up in the hills and the tiny roads, and it was magical up there. It was really like there. It was
It was
straight up.
part of Braveheart was filmed up there.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
can see why.
it was supposed to be the hills of Scotland, part of
And they were
Braveheart.
like mushing. It felt like the Hobbit or something. Do you know what I mean?
It's just absolutely. I mean, I remember bringing a friend of mine. This is a very long, almost 30 years ago now, from London.
Mm.
And when he got here, like, he would go to the like, Peak District and Lake District and things like that. And he says they looked like wee hills compared to the hills of Donegal.
Yeah,
Which is true. When you get there, it's like, it's not even, we call them the hills of Donegal. They're mountains.
they're mountains. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And it's in some parts of those mountains are
they're like
still old Ireland.
uranium or something in some of them.
Well, the blue stacks are full of uranium, actually.
Yeah, maybe that's why they're so
Maybe
appealing.
that's why they're so it's so blue.
Well, anyway, they're bloody beautiful.
It is absolutely gorgeous up there. There's still a wee railway that runs along the lakes at the bottom of the Blue Stack Mountains in Fintown, and I would recommend anybody visiting here go there. It's
Hmm.
absolutely gorgeous. So you can actually go right, along the bottom of the lake. I've never actually been on that wee railway. They preserved their wee bit of railway,
Yeah, it's
and
just
there's other bits like that in various other places. But yeah, we're still without a railway in Donegal. That's where
yeah.
that's where being Tran, Tran is a Donegal, like being Tran, or Tick's another way of putting it.
Yeah,
But yeah, listen, we'll come to a close on that there now, and
yeah.
next week, as I say, fingers crossed, we'll have some pictures of ferries for you, or ferry forts for you.
That's something anyway. And then is Regina going to join us?
Regina's going to join us next week as well, so hopefully Regina will have a few more tales for us, some ghostly tales, because let's face it, Letterkenny seems to have their fair share of them.
Yeah, haunted Letterkenny. Now
Haunted Letterkenny, yeah.
names that. Um,
I think whatever ghost team comes here next, comes to Ireland next, they're going to have to include Letterkenny on their visits
You
of to
see, I wore my
investigate.
my sweater, my
I
Ireland.
see you've on your arm knit sweater,
Yeah,
a pattern that originated in the mountains of Afghanistan and Pakistan.
that's fascinating. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Byrons originated over there too. Byrons originated there and with the Arabs.
It's hard to see if. Oh no, it's not going to work. You might.
No, I've got his you coming out of a
No, doesn't matter.
aurora borealis by the looks of it.
Yeah, I'm actually not in Dublin, Ireland. I'm in Iceland.
Yeah, looks the part. I can't figure out how to get a background picture.
Caroline, would you ever go to Iceland in the
I'd love
future?
I would love to visit Iceland.
Do you
Love
want to
to visit.
go? Would you go with me?
I would
I also
love, but I'm I'd like to visit Sweden and
we could
Denmark
do a
as well.
we could do bus tours and talk to mad tourists post
Yeah.
COVID. We'll just
The
go
only thing
normal.
about Iceland, I know that the northern European countries are quite expensive.
It'll be the future, and it'll be when we get vaccinated for sure. Maybe we could say somewhere haunted for the laugh.
Yeah,
Or maybe not.
I think Denmark's bound to have
Great.
a
Yeah, Denmark
few
seems like
trademark. Yeah, well, Denmark's one of the oldest democracies
well,
outside of Iceland.
I think it's very expensive. Also,
Yeah, so is Iceland, I believe. I
yeah,
know a few people that have gone up.
that's very true. I believe I've heard that before as well.
But truthfully, at the moment, I feel, Iceland, Denmark, Sweden. I do want to go to Sweden as well. But at the moment, I'm thinking more along the lines of the south of France,
Yeah,
back to Rome, anywhere it's hot.
I suppose it'll.
Seriously.
I suppose, yeah, hot countries. Yeah,
I just wanted to get warm. I just want to laze in the sun and
I want to go to Canary Islands.
yeah, I don't even want to go to a resort. I just want it to be warm somewhere
Mm.
where I can sit and be unsociable and listen to loud music and, you know, drink copious amounts of nice ice cold Pinot Grigio.
I wonder how long it'll take to go to do travel again.
I'd say it'll be next year. It'll be this time next year before we're starting to move again properly.
Different
It's going to
countries
be
are
about the end of September, they say, before all of us here in Ireland have got the vaccination.
vaccinated.
But
I think that
then, I
changed as
mean,
well, but I don't think they know what they're talking about. So
no,
I'm not
exactly. I
going to get
mean,
my hopes up about any of it.
I've said all along from the very beginning, 2 years.
Too, yeah. So it's
Yeah,
year one.
I've said it from the very beginning. This is not over for 2 years, and I'm sticking to that. And it wasn't because of anything fabulous. I'm just sort of going by past history.
Yeah.
At 2 years, it'll take that long.
Well,
As long as
definitely.
as long as there's
Maybe, yeah.
no more new strains being added to it.
Oh, there
Excuse me.
will. There is new strains being
I
added on.
know, like we're in such a good lockdown. I mean, how is this happening? How are they moving about?
I read there was over 1,000 people a day are coming by airplane to Ireland.
Mhm.
So that's kind of still happening to some degree. We're not
And
as
then,
strict as you think as well. Some countries
yeah,
lock down
I know,
really strict.
I know.
But
Anywho's,
anyways,
who
but
are we to judge? Who are we to
yeah,
judge?
no judgment.
We don't know why they're doing it, but whatever the reason, we'll get there. We'll all get through this, and
It'll be everything.
it'll have done. And if nothing else, we'll all have fabulous looking gardens, and the houses will all be done to bits.
Yeah, exactly.
So, everything will be just fabulous.
Yeah, and we've learned some new skills, hopefully.
Yes, exactly. Right. Okay.
Okay,
Listen, Ben, it was great chatting to you
you
as
too,
usual,
and we
and
will talk on Tuesday.
yeah, definitely. And to everyone else, thank you again. Please don't forget to like and share and subscribe. It's always appreciated. All right. Good night.
Night.
Cheerio.